the purpose of the Local Government Act, and quite pertinent to our committee today. The purpose of the Local Government Act is to enable democratic local decision making and action by and on behalf of communities, and to meet the current and future needs of communities for good quality infrastructure, local public services, and performance of regulatory functions in a way that is most cost effective for households and businesses. In this Act, good quality in relation to local infrastructure, local public services, and performances of regulatory functions means infrastructure services and performance that are efficient and effective and appropriate to present and anticipated future circumstances. I would just like to welcome Kelly to do a karakia.
Whakataka hau ki te uru, whakataka hau ki te tonga, kia mā kina kina ki uta, kia mā tara tara ki tai, e hi ake ana, te ātakura he tio, he huka, he hauhunga, haumie, huie, tai.
Kia ora, Kelly. We'll start here. Are there any apologies or declarations of interest to our quite short agenda today?
Worship in here?
Yes. And just to clarify, Councillor Radich is how many times?
He resigned, didn't he?
Resigned.
So through
Can I clarify the
Chair,
government?
yes, he did make the statement during the last infrastructure meeting that he was resigning. However, we have not received that in paper.
And I had we had a conversation with the councillor, and it's in his court now, but I'm confident that the decision has not been made. The suggestion was made by the councillor, but this is still ambiguous at the moment. I might some time to work with the deputy mayor and encourage the councillor back in.
So we haven't received apologies from him, so we'll just continue on, and we've got no deputations today. Moving on to the first item, the confirmation of the minutes. Could we move on? Kelly, and second from Councillor Pollard. Any discussion? No, that's straightforward. Thank you. So, all in favour?
Aye.
Aye, carried. Thank you. Unanimous. And we'll move on to item 5.1, and we'll ask our GM Andy, who's here today, and I'm sure looking forward to a Christmas break, to open up with some of the great things that our council has been doing.
Good morning. Thank you, Madam Chair. Firstly, I'd just like to explain the piece of paper that we've circulated today outside of the government. You recall that the monthly business report produced by IAM does lead to a number of questions. They were recorded at the last meeting, and we have now identified answers or responses to those questions, and it's our intention going forward that as questions are asked, and if we can't answer them at the meeting, then we will endeavour to give you a formal response for the next meeting. You'll also note that a couple of questions have remained unanswered, and I'll ask Tanya to carry those forward to the next meeting in the new year. So hopefully there's a bit more structure around the question and answer sessions, and yes, we'll need to circulate those to the elected members who are online. My apologies for that. We just printed those out. So the intention is just to give just a response to the questions you've asked. The other part I'd just like to identify around the monthly business report. It is for October, and that is generally aligned with the reporting cycle. So the monthly business report is generally produced on the 10th working day of every month, generally in line with the financial reporting, our ability to pull together the information. So November's report will be produced around about the 10th of December. So that does mean there is a lag to the information provided here, but hopefully it gives you a view of the activities that have been undertaken across infrastructure, not only that infrastructure delivered by Farnham District Council, but also by NZTA. There's a briefing there at the end in terms of the work that they've been doing. Overall, and I will take the overall report as being read, and I appreciate there's a lot of pages there, and the intention would be that you dip in and out and read the parts that spike your interest and are of interest to you, and not necessarily read the whole document, but the whole document is there for you to be able to pick up core information around what's happening on a day-to-day basis across our network. At each section now we are endeavouring to put a short executive summary, which does reduce the amount of reading, so that gives you a little bit of a flavour around what's going on. But generally, I hope you find the business report useful and informative. There is a lot of information, a lot of detailed information in there, and really happy to take any questions that may arise.
Thank you, Andy. And we have a 185-page report here, so I'm sure there are a number of questions. I also note in the information table today, this isn't a report, but also we'll just note that in the minutes. We don't need to formally table that. In terms of the monthly report, on page 10, it was noted that there was a request to publish this report on the website. And are we able to get an update on that?
I can see you, Madam Chair. I can confirm that we have been running the last 3 reports through our legal team, just cross-referencing the text against the new privacy regulations, just to ensure that we're not exposing the organisation to potential privacy claims. I believe that we are really close to being able to have them on the last 3 reports, including this one, on the council website. I'm going to stick with it and say within the next week, but I've got a nod.
Oh, we love getting timeframes. Thank you, Andy. And Councillor Stratford.
In a previous council meeting or workshop, and I didn't get to raise in the last committee meeting, Councillor Court, suggested that it be put up on the website, but I had been asking for it, probably for the last year, and I had been told that, there's nothing to hide in there, put it up on, like you can share it. So I have been sharing it just to make it, because I was told I could verbally. Not that everyone reads it.
So through the Chair, the business reports have been brought to the Infrastructure Committee over the last number of months. They have been considered. They haven't been considered in public exclusion, so they are public documents. So we're sharing
Publicly available information. Yeah.
Thank you. So do we have a mover for the current?
Yeah, I'll move that.
Thank you, Councillor Stratford. And we have the question from Adele.
I was going to second it, but I thought you'd already to it.
Thank you, Adele. Do you have any questions?
I just want to thank Andy for a great report. I read through it this morning, and I see that you're on track, which is great. I just want to highlight something very, very light. And I just love page 175 that the dog was in PPE gear.
175.
I'm sorry, Madam Chair, that was quite distorting and I didn't understand it. Did anyone catch it? That can repeat
And
it?
we're in infrastructure meeting, not regulatory.
There is something around a dog on page 175, Lily. We'd like to look after our neighbour's Lily.
Madam Chair, could we ask if Adele could use the chat?
So it's on page 175, 177 of the online version, and Lily's at the top of the page there with a little scarf around her neck. Thank you, Adele.
Just something light, that was all. Thank you.
I have a question, Madam
So we've got councillor Court and then we've got councillor Vucic.
I read every word, Andy. I absolutely love this report and I just want to thank you for the report, and I particularly want to acknowledge the incredible volume of work that has been undertaken by the Parliament District Council across the district. And I think sometimes when we're so far down in the weeds, we lose all the things that are going on. So first of all, I want to start off by acknowledging the incredible amount of work that you and your team are doing, and this is a fantastic report, so thank you. I just would like some further clarification on the email that I've received from Cheryl Bainbridge regarding the Mill Bay Road footpath, because I've read that and I'm still in the dark. And her latest email, which came through last night, says the footpath in the matrix is proposed along an unformed road that is covered in trees. Many pedestrians use Mill Bay Road daily, and the footpath for that road is not even on a matrix. The board would like someone to correct this situation. So I'm slightly in the dark here that I'm receiving significant amounts of correspondence. And I understand that the board member is still not satisfied, and I don't understand the disconnect. Page 3. I'm not quite sure what the real issue is, if I can be brutally honest. I've had a quick look at that. Has this been forwarded to Adele? Has she got a copy?
We're doing it now,
Because what I'm hearing is that we put the footpath in on the opposite side of the road to what the community board requested. Is that correct?
I've got Calvin here. Did you want to comment, Calvin?
So, through the chair, we've had quite a bit of correspondence going back and forth on this matter. The map that's included in the handout, which is on page, not showing very well at the moment, sorry. The printed map has some colours. The map that's included there was the map that was put forward to the community board meeting with the, so basically we've agreed to build the section on Mill Road this year, which are the two blue lines either side of the intersection, which are down the bottom left-hand corner of the map at the bottom of the yellow. And it hasn't printed very well, sorry. We can send an email version which shows it a lot better. The path that extends to Richmond Road, being the blue line going vertically down the map, is not included this year. So that, and this was what was at the community board. We've been going back and forth to try and understand where the difference in communication is. At this stage, we still haven't. We still believe that this was the one that's approved, so I'm happy for Jacques to actually sit with the elected member who has the concern and actually walk through the map, because I think that's the most practical way. We're doing the tender at the moment, and so obviously we'd like to get it confirmed before the tender prices are all finalised and everything else. So based on the fact that there's still confusion, and emails don't seem to be sorting it out, then I think a site meeting with Jacques is probably the best idea to get a resolution on this. Yep.
But just in the matter of process moving forward, can you explain to me so it's clear in my mind what happened? The community board put forward, each community board put forward a footpath project each year. Does the NTA then sit down with the board and discuss?
So my understanding of the process through talking to Jacques is we have the footpath prioritisation, which that information is provided to the community board, and then a paper is taken to the community board with the recommended sites for the year. NTA representation are at that community board meeting, and that's when the footpaths are finalised. If there's any changes to that, then it requires a change to go back to the community board. I think the exception to this potentially was the MB footpaths, which were added in addition to the community board ones, and they were missing link as the definition. Because of the timeframes, those ones were added, but they weren't at the expense of the program. They were done in addition to the program. What that has resulted with in timing is that we've had to do the MB ones first, and the community board ones are being pushed to later in the season, but they're still intended to be completed within this financial year.
Madam Chair, may I ask one additional question? Following on from that, are conversations had with the community boards around engineering standards? For example, I understand that the Western Community Board through Louis Turnberg wanted a conversation about the footpath being wider than what we normally do. Or do we have conversations with the community board about what side of the road? Do we actually get down to that level of detail?
Through the chair, for new footpaths, I believe we do. For renewals, which there have been some conversations in the past, the contract is like for like in those spaces, unless we're doing a significant portion. So historically there was a question about widening a section of footpath, and I can't remember which ward it was in, but because it was renewals and doing 20-metre sections along about a kilometre route, it didn't make sense to widen some parts and not others in terms of the actual renewals program. So when it's new, the whole discussion relates to where the footpath is placed and the scope and size of the footpath that's appropriate.
Thank you.
Right, yeah, I have a couple of questions.
Sorry, Mike, we have Councillor Vusich, Rachel, and then you're up.
Sort that.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just clarification, Louis that was asking about footpath to be widened to the standard, I believe, not wider than our current standard, but because it was so narrow, as you said, you didn't want to do a certain section at the current standard we're using without considering it, and that was an issue raised, which means that they are in this ever cycle of never being able to go wider unless we have a break somewhere and think about it as a whole. But that's my general comment is just first of all on page page 22. I noticed that the 250 metres of the road has been sealed at Waimau School Road, so thank you very much. It's not surprising that they would be very pleased. Wouldn't have seen that for a long time, we expected, so that's great. I do going further down the question, solid waste, we seem to be tracking quite behind, so that's one question, if you could answer that. Progress on that. Oh, sorry, that was on page 27. And while you're looking for that, I note that we seem to be tracking all right for which is pleasing. As Councillor Court said, there's a lot of work on it. And can you please comment on solid waste, we seem to be tracking lower than expected, there's a graph there. And given the big workload program, general comment on how we're tracking overall, I know we've got a lot we're expected of you this year.
So through the chair, I think for the first time in a number of years, my capital delivery manager has a smile on her face. She, whilst the actual expenditure, the dollars exchanging hands, is lagging, and there will always be a lag, the commitments are running ahead of time, probably for the first time this year. So the number of contracts that are out the door being delivered and have increased significantly. So I'm always reluctant to count chickens, but as we're heading sort of 6 months into the year, but we're in a better space this year than we've been in terms of our capital spend than we've been in previous years. On top of that, I'm also really confident around the delivery of the external funding projects. David Clamp's team are doing a good job on scoping those out and getting those out the door. So it is largely a good news story where we sit at this point in the year in terms of spend. The NTA are knocking it out of the park in terms of getting the jobs delivered. So whilst the actuals, and as I identified earlier on, this is October and we're now into December, will lag. We're pretty confident that we're heading in the right direction.
Thank you, Andy. Just and on page 30, that's another good news story. You made the comment about social procurement and how the numbers there, 98 of which were previously unemployed in the social procurement. May I make a suggestion that a more detailed report might be useful to get that out somewhere so we can get some detail around just how effective that is. That's, I think, a good news story. I'll leave those my comments to that's
Okay, so Calvin, I think Calvin, through the chair, wanted to comment. I'd also comment around the focus, largely MD and the external focus is around creating jobs, and that sits in the broader conversation around social procurement. And David Clamp's team has done a lot of work with MD and UK to encourage, our smaller suppliers into the market, and there have been a number of workshops with our tier 2 and our tier 3 and 4 suppliers to get them up to speed in terms of site-wise and the basic requirements for doing business with the Foreign District Council. So that's a real positive. And we're also encouraging a lot of those firms with a pipeline of work that we have in front of us to engage more people so that the social procurement outcome of creating employment is being delivered. Calvin?
Yeah, through the chair, on page 80 or 107 of the agenda is a copy of the October MB monthly report, which is the full regional report that goes to MB on a monthly basis, detailing. So that's provided for reference, but that is the milestone for payment for MB to provide that monthly report, covering that. It's now $13.32 million worth of funding, which includes the storm response funding as well. So we intend to include a copy of that report in each, as an appendix to each IANZ report through to completion at the end of February.
Right, thanks. Yeah, I'll leave my comments at this point at that, so others can speak.
Thank you, Councillor Hewson. Rachel, on our video link.
Thank you,
you, Madam Chair. Just confirming that my audio is okay.
Yes.
Great, thank you. I have a few questions. Firstly, I just wanted to open, Andy, I really appreciate the executive summaries in this report. And also thank you, Tanya, for circulating that document. It's great to see the improvement done in capturing those questions and what that process looks like. Just a couple of questions from me. Firstly, page 39, the Southern Animal Shelter. I note that it states that current structures are non-compliant, existing buildings to be demolished and new kennels to be constructed to comply with Animal Welfare Acts. I just had a question around what governance oversight we have of that. That to me is a change in direction from what the initial council resolution was. So it would be great to just get some commentary around what we can expect to see from a reporting point of view going forward. My second question was around the Kirikiri wastewater treatment plant on page 45. I note that the key milestones are tracking quite quickly now, so just wanting a progress update on how the commissioning phases 1 to 6 went and whether we're moving into that final project milestone. Page 61, the sludge strategy. I noticed that there is a change in direction there as well. So a similar question to my question around the Southern Animal Shelter, just how can governance get a bit more information around that and what those next steps look like and enabling that. The sludge strategy has been front of mind for elected members for a number of months now, so it would be good to get some further information on that in the near future. And then my final question was page 86, district facilities. There's a report in regards to trees, and there's a comment made emphasises the need to have a proactive tree management tool in place. I'm all about the action points, so I would be keen to hear what the next steps in that are to enabling that and what the barriers are that are currently preventing that from being in place. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel. Can we start off with Dean in response to the animal shelter?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think there are two opportunities for governance to look at progress on the Southern Animal Shelter. One is from a project point of view. Andy and his team manage capital projects across council, including this one. The other opportunity is through Regulatory Compliance Committee, where we will provide regular updates. In fact, we were providing such an update yesterday on the intent on the intent for the Southern Animal Shelter, which goes to council on the 10th of December next week. So from a governance oversight point of view, there are multiple opportunities to have oversight of that. In terms of the actual works on site, that is the subject of an item that comes to council next week.
So, Councillor Rachel, are you here? Sorry, did you hear what about the paper to council next week?
I did, that's great, thank you.
And we'll get a response from Andy about your other questions.
See you, Madam Chair. Starting off with Kirikiri wastewater treatment plant, I'm pleased to inform you that practical completion for the construction of the plant has been achieved, and we're now moving to the phase of connecting up the premises around Kirikiri in the area of benefit and working from the plant radially outwards. So that piece of work is underway and will continue for a number of months. We're also looking at inviting elected members and contributors from the Ministry of Health, and DHB, and suppliers to a site blessing before the Christmas break. So we're just working through the details of what that looks like. And we'll send out the invites either in due course. I'm sure they've got it. We should have those invites by Friday. We appreciate it's a little tight this side of Christmas with there's a lot of events taking place, but I think it'd be good if as many elected members as possible could attend that. In terms of sludge strategy, look, I am conscious that with COVID and drought, the focus has drifted a little away from sludge. And what we will do is, for the next meeting of the Infrastructure Committee, I'll ask for a paper to be brought, just updating where we are and next steps for that. And similarly with the tree management tool, I can't give you an answer at this point, but we'll either answer that through the question notes. That's probably the best place for that question.
Those are great answers. Thank you, Andy. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Rachel. And we have Mike next.
Okay, I'd like to go back to footpaths if I could. Just back to a couple of things that Anne asked. So I think our community board has had a couple of false starts with regard to the size of the roads and footpaths as well. One long one, it was going to build on one side of the road. We asked about, got a big long laundry list as to why it couldn't go on the other side. We asked for evidence, couldn't provide it. So at the other end, long story short, we went on the side of the road that we wanted to. That was a couple of years ago, so it's probably not in your reign. Another one went on another side of the road, and we asked for more information, and we got it. Thank you very much. So that was engineering sound. And now what we've got is generally footpaths that come to us already have the side of the road marked on them. Okay, so I guess to preempt any misunderstanding, which is good. So the question here is given we've got this misunderstanding with Cheryl, is our side of the road communication an ad hoc thing or a systematic thing? So in other words, when I'm not there next time, as my community board going to be appraised the side of the road that footpaths are going to go on as we discuss, or when you're not there, is it going to carry on? That's the first question.
Through the chair, my understanding is the intent when coming to community boards is to become complete with the engineering recommendation, along with a map clearly identifying which side of the road the footpath is going to be placed on. I understood that happened in this case, but the map is quite a big map with small drawings, so there's some discrepancy around that.
Yeah, no, Yanko made a point the other day of saying, hey, look, they're the sides of the road, so that's good. The other thing is back to your engineering standards question, and there was an issue, and I think this is the issue you're talking about, there was an issue out west about footpaths being continued to be made narrow because not all of the footpaths are being replaced. Now, we asked for to be involved in the renewals so that we could be appraised of these situations. And I do ask, given that the community out there understand that only parts of it will be replaced, they still thought they should be replaced at the full width rather than narrow width, just because not all will be replaced, right? So I'm going to suggest that, yes, there may be good reasons for not widening a footpath to our current standards, okay? But I do believe that it's probably a good idea to run it past the community board early on, so that if there's any disagreement, that it can be resolved. If there's good engineering reasons why it can't be, then the community board can be appraised of that. If the community simply say we don't mind a multi-width footpath for a few years, then the engineering department can be appraised of that. So it's more along of a dialogue prior to these things being put down and surprising everyone.
Through the chair, just in response to that, we can work through a process that might be able to facilitate. I guess the primary issue is one in relation to funding from NZTA. So NZTA fund for renewals are like-for-like replacement. So any change to that would require an additional component of local share.
Absolutely no problems at all. Yep. And the point that
Evans, please allow us to
sorry, I was just going to. The second component is renewals is driven by the asset management and footpath survey condition. So one of the issues with consultation is the pure volume of the renewals we have across the network, and where we draw the line about where we consult. We have sections of 3 metre sections of footpath through to 100, 200 metre sections, and the technicality will be about where we draw the line in terms of what's consulted on and what's not in terms of community boards. To make sure that, given the size of the program we've got, we're actually doing this in a way that makes sure the footpaths get built within the financial year they're supposed to be. So I guess this conversation Andy and myself and the community board chairs could have about how we can finalise a process that actually meets the needs of the community board's involvement, but also meeting the needs of being able to deliver in accordance with the NZTA guidelines as well.
Yeah, okay, look, let's have that conversation because my community board would only be too pleased to put some of their renewal, go through their level of service budget into a wider footpath in some place for renewal. So there's no problems there if we're told. I guess we'd just like to have that conversation. So yes, if we could have that conversation, that'd be great, and we can sort this out because it is a bone of contention, has been for quite some time. Thank you.
Thank you, and Andy would like to respond.
Just through the chair, I'll just ask Tanya to take a note that both myself, Glenn, and Calvin will have that discussion. We maybe draft out a straw man for the community board chairs and send that through for discussion.
Yeah, that's sweet. Look, as long as we've got that open dialogue, that's great. Rather than being, rather than talking at each other, or we can talk with each other, would be great. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Edmund. Also, just like to highlight from the community boards in general that Yako has done a great job about bringing forward the new list. It would be great to have some sort of list for the renewals that are planned. And also, we were told that the matrix for footpaths would be updated. For the footpath matrix because it's outdated and doesn't relate to the GPS objectives, and we haven't been given a time frame that would be done. So if you can include that as an item on the spreadsheet, that would be appreciated. We have Councillor Strickland.
Thank you. And just following up on the footpath discussion, in my experience as a community board member, when we've sought to have a footpath when it was replaced, widened, we've added it to our new list, and then we've been told, when it's come time to do it, oh no, don't worry, it's going to get widened in the renewal. So there is a discrepancy, there's no consistency. Yeah. I'm on wastewater treatment plants, and I note that the Whatawhiwhi, whilst it's compliant right now, my question is whether the total suspended solids breach is something that's happening regularly, because we are inquiring about a variation to the current consent. Can we have some information about why that is happening? Is it from stormwater getting into it, or is there another way that we can manage staying within our consent for that treatment plant? And if you have to get back to me another time, that's fine.
Councillor, would you like to ask all your questions, or like
that's the only question I had. Thank you.
So through the chair, I'm not sure how many elected members have met the new compliance officer, Jocelyn, but did you want to just stand up and introduce yourself, and if you can answer the question, that would be really helpful.
Welcome, Jocelyn.
Welcome.
Pleased to have somebody in this role. Thank you.
Kia papatanuku tenakoi, ko Jocelyn at home. Kia ora everyone. I've just been living in the beautiful far north for the last 8 weeks, and thoroughly enjoying the climate, lifestyle, and the generosity of the people around here. So, really happy to have come up from Christchurch. With regards to the Whatawhiwhi wastewater treatment plant and our exceedances of the total suspended solid volume, it has been a reoccurring issue. However, not a solidly tracking issue as well. So it kind of it's happened over the last 12 months, approximately 3 months from with regards, from our reporting standards anyway. Yeah. Oh, would you like to?
Yeah, Madam Chair, excuse me, can I just remind you, please, and I'm sorry, this is rude to the chair, but your talking is interfering with the people up top. Sorry.
And thank you, Councillor Stratford. I was just getting a point to check if Jocelyn was a new staff member or if she was replacing a previous staff member.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Okay, well, I'll let you on the spot. No, through the chair, apologies.
So based on our reporting, it's been probably about approximately 3 months out of the last 12 months where we've exceeded the total suspended solid limits.
Every 3 months.
No, 3 months over the last 3 months over the last 12-month period. So it has initiated some conversation with our planning team and the resource consents manager at NRC, which hopefully we'll be able to provide further updates for our next meeting, if that suits you.
Yeah. Great. Thank you very much. Thank you. Awesome. And can I comment, Madam Chair, that I'm really happy to see in this report the consent expiry dates for all our water treatment plants and wastewater treatment plants. I think as to have oversight of that. Yeah. Great.
Jocelyn, before you leave there, are you able just to stand up again? Thank you for choosing to join our organisation, and we welcome you. Thank you for your time today. We're really happy that you joined our Community Whānau organisation. Thank you, Jocelyn. On that note of new staff, I just wanted to bring up in the paper, we have a new Three Waters process engineer, James Ross, joined the team as well. I know it was there. He's not here today, but I note that in the report. And also, we had a question about the project manager that says that for Project Darwin is to be expected to be appointed before Christmas. Is there an update on that, staff member?
So through the chair, the advert for the programme manager for Programme Darwin is currently out into the community, and we've got last time I think we've got a number of applicants, so we're aiming to see if we get a suitable candidate.
So not yes. And we've got here our communications manager that's joined us now. Welcome, Richard. I note that we have started comms on the summer season water levels and potential drought. That's great to see. Well done on being proactive this summer. That's good to see culture change in that respect. And on that note, on page 170 of the report, I really like it how the staff have highlighted the risks for the organisation. I think that should form its own separate section of the report, because that should be clear for elected members without us having to pick those out. I do note that those are related to Three Waters, and I wasn't sure if Glenn here would like to speak to those, because some of them seem to be quite a considerable risk for our summer season with our waters, and we don't want a repeat of last summer. Are we able to have, Andy, we're able to have Glenn to comment on those matters highlighted on page 170?
Yeah, and Glenn's looking at me, but before we do, through the chair, I'm still a little nervous around the level of potential drought that we may get in the new year. I'm generally okay up to Christmas, fingers crossed. What I would say is that we do have resilience in place. So you'll recall that for the first time in countless years, we've put no restrictions automatically on open only on the 1st of December. On March from the 1st of December. And we are implementing a number of projects that build resilience for our water networks across the region. Are we totally secure? And clearly the answer to that is not yet. But it's a work in progress, and we are a lot more secure in our water supplies this summer, or we will be, than we were last summer and previous summers before that. So the direction of travel is in the heading towards the right space. Glenn, would you want to comment on this?
Thank you, through the chair. I'd like to just provide a little bit of context to the risks that are identified in this report. So these are the risks that our alliance partner, our operator, has identified and they're bringing to our attention. This was provided at our last alliance leadership team meeting. toilets is actually, it's good to highlight it, but the natural question that you're asking, what are we doing about it? And actually we're doing things to all those. So obviously we've got the sweet water bulk tanker supply that we're going to bring up for this year. So that's going through. We've got the long-term project in Kaitoa around sweet water. We've got a SCADA project happening at the moment to try and address that whole system we have. We've obviously got money that we've allocated in this year's budget to address the Kirikiri purifier. So there's work in progress to address those issues, but it's good that the operator is highlighting it for us, and but that missing piece is what we're doing about it, so that should be future reports.
Thank you, Glenn. I have one more question on Three Waters, and I'm not sure if Andy or Glenn would answer it. It was about the Three Waters contract, and this was brought up at the community board. I don't know where Dell's on, but it was about the Three Waters contract and including drainage district contracts within that, without talking to the community board first or without asking the drainage committees first. And the drainage committees have been in existence since 1989, the early 1990s. So they've been almost more than 100 years. And with that, that was quite a shock to hear that from the presentation in the community board meeting. And there wasn't formal RFS put in about that, but I just think it's the basis of having those conversations, because it's really clear from the drainage district committees and the community board that they don't want that included in the Three Waters contract. That's local contractors that have always done that work.
So through the chair, when we awarded the Three Waters contract to Waters, the drainage committee was included in that, or the staff and resourcing that managed the drainage committees were passed through to Far North Waters. Within council's direct employees, we have nobody at an operational level who can manage that, and that's clearly the intent at the time was to pass the management of the drainage committees using the staff that have historically done it through to Far North Waters.
Through the chair, if I could just add to that. So the process hasn't really changed. I know perceptions, everything, but so as Andy pointed out, the FNDC staff who managed this process before are still the same staff doing it today. They have actually been seconded into their line. So it's part of the contract, but it's part of the final alliance, which is their contractor, Ventia, and ourselves. So it's being handled within that contract, which our seconded staff are into. It is no change to the process in terms of our people providing advice to the committee around what we believe the maintenance program should look like. The committee then actually finally determining by the community board what the program looks like, and then we're delivering it, and we're delivering it through our staff at Seconded Alliance doing that piece of work, so they're managing it, and they may do it by undertaking the work themselves, or in fact using local subcontractors to do that work. So, and there's a mixture that will be happening. But in terms of the work that's been determined, absolutely no change to the process that's occurred previously. So it is not Far North Waters, it is not our staff that determine what that program is. There's no change, it is the committee themselves, it is those land and drainage owners that will be determining the program.
Thank you, Glenn. I'll just highlight in response that as long as the contractors who are delivering the work are not changing, then that's not an issue. From the response from the staff at the meeting, and Adele, who's not here, will be able to support that. the people who do the spraying and who do the drain cleaning, that's a targeted rate only to those people that are in the drainage district. And they don't want to be paying Three Waters who then on-charge someone else and therefore increase the cost when previously it was directly to the contractor provided for local employment. So as long as that isn't changing, then that's not an issue. Can you verify that that's not changing?
So through the chair, maybe we need to have further conversation offline on that matter, because the way it sits at the moment, that's not a guarantee I can give you. Our understanding is that the committee in the past has never determined council's procurement process in terms of who we engage to do that with. So it's the council to determine what contractor we use, and so there's no change to that process. That's from my understanding.
We can take this offline, but previously they did choose a contractor and they did determine the budgets as well. So we can take that offline. I wanted to highlight that from the community board. And the other questions I had were about roading. And thank you for coming today, Calvin. New Zealand Transport Agency did a presentation to the community board at the last meeting, and that was about the Mangamuka Gorge. And we've got our comms team here at the moment, people that live further north of the Mangamukas have realised that that's a significant barrier to the area, and they're doing significant works at the moment. I think that maybe through the NTA and our comms department, maybe we could do a press release about that as well in conjunction with NZTA. And further to that, so they're doing the works at the moment for the piles in order to get that open single lane by this summer, one way, and for light traffic. And I asked them what light traffic meant, and they said it includes camper vans, but not truck trailers, anything that's non-HT. So that's great news. And with the NTA, I have put in a formal request about resilience routes. We did bring up about resilience routes with the Mangamukas closed and the likelihood of further slips, and that the Broadwood route, which is not part of the state highway currently, but is being used as a detour route, is not being identified by NZTA, and subsidy is not being provided for that being a detour route. And Kaipara was successful in doing that for one of their roads. They did detail that, and that we could apply for the same.
So, I'd say through the chair. We're presently talking with NZTA about the impact of the Mangamukas on closures on a number of local roads in terms of increased maintenance costs and how we can go through a process of any reimbursement for that. That's an evidence-based process. In terms of resilience and formal notification or formal, identification of a route as a resilience state highway bypass, we're still talking to NZTA about how that process is, because ultimately they determine through their operational team what the recognised bypasses are. What we're finding at the moment is that the historic process for doing that doesn't work with NABMAN and TomTom. So the historic process was they had designated resilience routes that people would be directed to. Now people follow their NABMAN and go to what it tells them to do. So NZTA themselves are looking at how they can address recognising alternate resilient routes, but also through the AMP submission and strategy, we're working on a resilience, presently working on a Northland resilience strategy about how we can better strengthen our argument to NZTA about funding these alternate resilience routes and getting updated. I'll have to get back to you specifically about Broadwood because I have seen that request coming through, and I know we've been talking to NZTA about it, but I'm not quite sure where we're at with that conversation.
Thank you, Calvin. And lastly was about auditing of NZTA and the condition of our state highways. Councillor Court has raised this, and we wanted to table that with the NTA about our concerns about the level of service being provided on our state highways, and NZTA audit us as an entity. But I am unsure who's auditing NZTA about that level of service with the current state of State Highway 10 in particular, which has got a much higher number of users, and also State Highway 1. Can we have a response?
maybe I was going to say perhaps one of the governors.
Bring this up with the Airlines Leadership Group at the next governance meeting, and you'll be in company there. But it's just it's a fair question, really, because we have two partners in the discharge of any jointly funded work, and only one partner is audited at the moment. And we want to know how the Crown Agency's performance in the partnership is audited. So let's have a chat about that with the other CEOs. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. We have final comments from Councillor Vusic and a question. Dave Hyde hasn't spoken, and Kelly will be after that.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Actually touched on what my question was, and that was to do with the activity report from across the whole district, which starts on page, just so you know where it is, page 168. So it's quite encouraging, actually. We've done quite well working at all of the roundabouts that are going to Kaio and Waipapa and Kawakawa and Tikatone, something like 66 million. So we did quite well. But the question I had is State Highway 1, why wasn't that mentioned as an activity? I know that's probably coming at a different bucket of funding emergency, but I wouldn't mind seeing the update, given that that is a major concern to a number of residents. And it's effectively shut down the forestry on the northwestern coast, according to a number of the trucking firms that I rang when I wanted to get a costing of their activity. So there's a high number of concerns from both truckies and industry and everything else that deals with that Mangamuka closure. And scepticism when they say it's only one lane after 6 months of being open. We know the Harbour Bridge did very, very well, thank you, very quickly, and various other things. So can you comment on that, please? Because I'm aware that there's a lot of angst on that.
So through the chair, just to confirm, the NTA itself has no control, jurisdiction or influence over NZTA or state highways. Yep. The sole involvement of NZTA within our organisation is the fact that Steve Mutton, as the regional director, sits as a governance member. We attempt to use the channels that we've got through NZTA staff sitting in the office to get updates, to get progress and everything else. But my recommendation is, as an elected member, to lodge any official request for information through to NZTA themselves or through Sean, because we don't actually, we haven't supplied these reports. NZTA supply these separately, and they choose what information they wish to provide through. I know there was an update on the Mangamukas at the last RTC, and I expect there'll be another one on Wednesday's RTC meeting, and the impact of that. But unfortunately, we're reliant on the same information that councillors are as well, in terms of what we receive in terms of input. So.
Thank you, Councillor Vusic. We had a response from staff as well.
So through the chair, I do know that NZTA is scheduled to come in and do a deputation on the Mangamukas at the December meeting if they didn't attend your November meeting. So you will get the same presentation that was provided to Te Hebre Community Board.
Thank you, Kim, much appreciated. Dave Collins.
Yeah, I wanted to touch on the wastewater treatment plant. Absolutely great news, Andy, that it's going to be opened and there's a ceremony to do so. But what I was concerned about is the perception of the public after last week on the front page of The Age was notice in relation to the wastewater abatement notice by the regional council and district council's performance. Now, we know that the new plant is opening, and I'm just concerned about our ratepayer and their perception after reading that type of information. How are we countering it? Are we looking after that? Or is there anything?
So through the chair, it's always a difficult one, and Jocelyn is in contact regularly with NRC around our abatement notices and our non-compliance. For Kerry, it's a difficult call, and while we do need to manage the existing plant, noting that next year it will be decommissioned and no one will be there, whilst not wanting to push the boundaries too hard, I am reluctant to spend a lot of OPEX money on activities that may have a limited life. That's not to say we shouldn't do the right thing. Clearly, a lot of our abatement notices that we've got in place are gradually getting ticked off, and I think Jocelyn was perhaps assuring me that we're looking to knock most of them on the head during next calendar year, so that would be good news. I can't really give you a definitive answer around Kerry. We're working with NRC to identify what is the minimum we need to do to keep the discharge compliant, or as near as compliant as possible, whilst we get the new plant working. It's probably not the fullest answer you would expect, but it's a bit of a compromise at this point.
Certainly, we live in a world of compromise. It's probably about the perception of the people that are involved, the perception of the people that are concerned, and just as the ratepayers of those people that say council does nothing. All I would suggest that is they record. Thank you.
Councillor Collard, we have Kelly and Anne. Please note I'm letting everyone speak more than once because we only have one table.
In the Three Waters portfolio meeting that I had last week around the Kirikiri wastewater treatment plant and the old one, there was reassurance given to me that there is wastewater being directed to the new plant now. On my question about capacity over summer, I don't want us breaching our old one when we've got the new one sitting there. So I have been given some assurity that there is Kerry wastewater going to the new plant, so we shouldn't breach, hopefully, Jocelyn. And the item that I wanted to touch on the gorge, the closure there. The thing that I found that came out of the Lemons Hill closure, there was a lot of angry people, but I stayed in constant communication with the Waka Kotahi lead on the project, and she worked with us to find compromises during that closure, and they were really good with comms, so I was speaking it out to the public, because the reality is people think that council are responsible for that closure, so we need to play a part in helping the public to navigate that challenge and be informed. And it is, I'm going to swear, no I'm not, it's a real inconvenience having that. And I love Waka Kotahi's messages. It only adds an extra 25, or 30 minutes to your travel. But a lot of people can't afford that extra mileage, and that time adds up, doesn't it, Felicity? 4 hours of your day. Now,
Councillor Collard and I.
And Councillor Collard. Yeah. So, kia kaha, keep it up. We'll all get through this.
Well, we've been told, fingers crossed, before Christmas for like
one way. Yeah.
Yes, we haven't actually been told if it's lollipops, if it's going to be able to go through both directions as yet. So it'd be great to find that out and to do some comms.
And build a relationship with the staff on the lollipops. People went and dropped off food and stuff, and they become part of your community. Waka Kotahi actually did a big clean-up around the Lemons Hill area. I think council ended up picking up the rubbish, but they went and did pick up some rubbish at that time. There are some opportunities out of this.
Thank you, Councillor Stratford. Andy, would Jocelyn like to respond about Kirikiri wastewater? I can provide my
Gotta love technology, eh? Great. Through the chair, with regards to, thank you for your comment regarding the, I suppose, the piece of communication that went out to the public with regards to where we're sitting with NRC and our abatement notice. So we have, we will be meeting the date of the current abatement notice, I'm really happy to say. So we're fully in stage 6 commissioning. And also, effectively, what has been communicated from our process engineers is that as of next week we should be mostly automatic, so taking that major pressure off the old plant, which is obviously helping us become more and more compliant with those current consent conditions. But really good news, and happy to provide any further updates.
Thank you, Jocelyn. And we have our communications staff here. Given the media attention to this, will we be doing a media release about that commissioning next week? Stage 6.
Sorry, I didn't hear them.
We'll be doing a media release about the stage 6 commissioning. I'm not always worried, I don't actually know what it means.
I'm looking at Glenn.
Thank you. And we have Andrew, we have the last comments before we end.
Madam Chair, just with my roading portfolio hat on, I thought I might be able to add some value to the debate. And if you'll indulge me, abatement notices are not necessarily a bad thing. We all see abatement notices and immediately think that we've failed. And it's a bit like taking your car in for a warrant. They may fail you if you've got a bad car or that you're a bad person. It just means at that particular point in time something went wrong. We can get abatement notices because of too much sunshine, too much rain, a pump failure. If you get an adverse E. coli reading, you'll have an abatement notice. It doesn't mean that the system is broken. So I just wanted to put a bit of perspective around abatement notices, but they are a very, very good tool to galvanise us into upgrades. Just in regard to the Mangamukas, we have a very robust roading portfolio. And I went up onto the Mangamuka as I did, because I know Councillor Husich did also, and I believe Councillor Collard may have gone up there, and we met the project manager up there. The reality is that this is a high-risk road, and what we're experiencing now will happen again. So as a district, we need to have a conversation about what resilience looks like for the Far North. And the perfect timing is that we're next year going to develop a new regional land transport plan, and there's an entire section in that plan on our resilience routes. So we can identify what are critical routes for our resilience, and we can put them into the plan. Once they're in the plan, that means that they can get attention for funding. So there is a process. So the timing of the resolution coming out of the Tahuku board is great, as is the development of our voting strategy. So I can then advocate for those to be included in the regional land transport plan this year. But, and it's going to come with a but with a capital BUT. There's a rider to this. The Chief Executive to Mayor, Councillor Stratford and I met with the new CEO of NZTA, Nicole Rosie and Kawakawa, a few weeks ago. And I guess this is more for the benefit of the public that may be watching rather than those who are sitting around this room, because you've heard me say this before. All funding that is generated from fuel excise levies and road user charges is put back into the network. It is called the hypothecated fund, and it is fully expensed. Up until this year, it was $4 billion per annum. COVID impacted profoundly on NZTA's revenue, and they are facing significant financial shortfall. Nicole Rosie has told us that they have enough money in the bucket to finish the current capital work program, which is based on significant cost increases. Disaster works, and we're seeing those all over the country, and the latest one is our colleagues down in Wellington region, and maintenance. But do not anticipate shiny new things. That was her words, not mine. There is simply not enough money. So as we go into the next regional land transport plan, we will put our best foot forward as a district and as a region. But I would like people to be very alive to the fact that unless the government steps forward with some additional funding, we might be facing a constrained program of works moving forward. I had raised at the portfolio meeting, who is auditing NZTA? I've been experiencing the same levels of service on the network as everybody else is. And my observation is that the seal is the worst I've ever seen it. Anyone who's driven through Springs Flat will have plenty to say about the level of service that they've been receiving down here. That was a contracted deficit, and that's been fixed. But we're just entering rehab season now, and we only do reseals in the summer for the same reason that you don't paint the house on a rainy day, you don't seal the network on a rainy day. The other challenge that we have is our costs per kilometre are significantly higher than anywhere else in New Zealand, and there's rafts of research that underpin why that is. But we get the same funding, so we're doing this more for less. And that's recognised in the FAR rate and the grants that we've been receiving from the Crown to help with our infrastructure deficit. So all in all, I think we're not in a bad place, but we won't keep up the fight to be in a better place. And I know Calvin wants to add.
Thank you, Councillor Court. Through the Chair, just want to add regards to the Mangamuka discussion. Yesterday, Jeff Devine put in a submission to NZTA on the Wakakotahi draft investment proposal, 21 to 31. Included within that, I'm trying to read it on my phone, sorry, was a State 1 North Mangamuka alternate route. So the wording is investigating and developing an alternate detour route for the Mangamuka section, which is prone to slips as demonstrated. So that is now highlighted within our submission to their investment proposal for the next 10 years. So it is formally submitted now through. With respect to the comment about the sealing season and cost per kilometre, just also want to highlight to the Infrastructure Committee the potential disruption that may be caused through the changes that are currently happening at the refinery and bitumen. And we're presently working with suppliers in terms of they're in the process of potentially closing down their plant, and how that would impact on the wider industry. It's an NZTA-led conversation at the moment, but at the moment, Northland prices are higher. I think Whangarei prices are about 3 times the price of Auckland prices, and Far North prices are about double the price of Whangarei prices because of our distance from plants and everything else. So what we don't want is an alternate solution that doesn't address that distance issue as well. We'd like to find something that actually brings the cost down if we possibly can. But that is a looming issue for the industry at the moment.
Thank you, Calvin, and we'll bring this debate to a close. All in favour? Aye. Thank you. And thank you to the staff for our numerous questions and attendance today. I will now move to the public exclusion. I'm happy to move that. Do you have a seconder? Yes. Councillor Busich.
Aye. Just give us one.
just speak before you're about to go online.
So thank you for your attendance at our meeting today, and we thought that we had a lot of time to discuss our main item, and we had our one publicly excluded item. Thank you for your time, and thank you for attending our committee for this year, and have a great break. We'll just conclude our recording. So for those in video conference attending today, I'll do a closing karakia. Rachel, thank you for attending today, and we'll close the meeting with a karakia from Councillor Stratford.
Kia tau, ki tātou katoa, te atawhai tō tātou ariki, me te aroha, me te atua, me te whiwhinga tahitanga ki te wairua tapu, ake, 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 ame.